Hello, Izzy. All right, today just spent an hour just about on the dot replacing my engine mount. I had this is my third mount in the car at about 112,000 miles. I replaced the factory mounts, I think around 70,000, and or maybe a little less than that. I can't remember. I'd have to go look it up in my records. But this is the 034 Motorsport brand. Motorsport mount, Streetsport density. It's basically the softer of the two options for their upgraded Motorsport mount. Looks really burly. It's a simple install. You can find DIYs. CPO, if you look at his channel, has a great DIY. You basically support the engine, or I did, with a block of wood under the pan carefully just to take the weight off. You remove this coolant reservoir. I have a catch can, so I had to remove the lines. And then you just zip out all the bolts, replace all the bolts, torque them to the specs that 034 has, which are factory specs. And then you can see I have paint mark on my bolts because these are all stretch bolts. So you torque and then you give them a 90-degree turn. So we'll see how it is today. Going to do the transmission mount in a few days. And of course, it's a lot more involved. You have to take everything out on this side of the bay to get to the frame rail portion of the mount. The other portion is, it's like doing a DSG service, battery tray intake out. You can get to that. But the frame rail part is under this ECU and some other kit. So again, there's some good DIYs. You can see what's involved in that. Here's the old mount. I'll put the camera on a tripod and try to show it moving. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's destroyed, but so see how it's basically tilted to this side now. There's a big gap over here. My guess is that has something to do with how the motor rocks when you give it gas. I think it rocks back. So it's smooshed on the side that it rocks back to. It's no surprise. Got 40,000 miles of hard use. These are called Density Line by 034. They're just a stiffer factory mount, basically. And, you know, it's not really intended to go track it 10 days a year. That's not what 034 made this to do. But it did hold up. Some people say they break and all this. I never had that problem. But I don't have a front-wheel drive car. Here's all the torque-to-yield bolts that you just throw in the trash. So that's it. We'll get after this mount in a few days. Okay, so this is the 034 Density Line mount, which is effectively an OEM mount. There's no fluid in it like the OEM. You can see one side, it's kind of smooshed over to this side. I suppose that's whatever direction the engine goes when it rotates, when you give it gas, is probably smooshed on one side, a gap on the other. You can see if I can do it. I mean, it's got some play in it. I wouldn't say it's completely shot, but it's loose. It was time to replace. Okay, just backed out of my driveway. I mean, it's a little different, maybe a slightly different tone. I have the AC on, foot on the brake in drive with the DSG, so that's where you're going to get the most vibration. I reserve any judgment until both mounts are changed because I've had vibration noise on this side, and that's what drove this, which is that I know the trans mount is shot. So, I mean, it's not really I don't know. It's a noise. We'll see how it does when we drive. I mean, maybe a little bit more noise. I don't know. NVH should go up, so probably what I would expect. Yeah, so for sure there's definitely more NVH. I would say it's more N, which is kind of interesting. I don't really find that the vibration so far is any different than before. I just feel like it's kind of noisier, which again makes sense when you're putting in mounts that, you know, don't move much. We'll take out a neighborhood here. I mean, there you go. All right, so I've just driven it around, kind of some loops and roads and on-ramps and some different conditions. And, you know, I'll save my review for when I do the trans mount. But I think the biggest thing I noticed just right off the bat is there's a different noise from the right side of the vehicle, which makes sense. That's where the mount is. Out of NVH, noise, vibration, harshness. I'd say it's mostly a noise issue. I don't really notice the vibration or harshness at all versus what I had. The other thing is 034 says it can take a few thousand miles for the rubber in these mounts to kind of, quote, break in. So again, you know, maybe I'll check back in a few months, but I mean, it feels really solid. You could see in the video my older mount was kind of smooshed into one side, so it definitely had movement. There's no movement now. not really. It's not a solid mount, but it is a stiffer mount. So yeah, I'll save my kind of final review for when I do the transmission mount.